Get ready to strap in. It's going to be a heck of a ride. It's like drinking from a fire hose. Never a dull moment, but yes, you'll hear the stories you won't hear anywhere else, and we appreciate you being here with us for them today. I'm Justin Barclay. Yeah, welcome in, folks. And it is a big week ahead of us. A lot going on. In fact, even today. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. President's in town. That latest visit. People asking why is he here. I'll try and explain what's going on. Coming up. And again, when I say president's here, he's here in Michigan. Not in the bunker with He's out of the bunker with me right now. Just a heads up. He'll be in Michigan today. The details coming up in just moments this morning. We appreciate you being here with us as we get ready to fire this thing up. Come on, here we go. Powered today by our good friends at MyPillow, mypillow.com/Justin. Mike Lindell and the team, as you know, going strong. The fight for freedom continues. And he's running for governor in Minnesota. In fact, he's got President Trump's endorsement there. Fantastic polling showing him doing pretty well. Michelle Tafoya running for Senate there, also doing well. There's a lot of good things happening there. We'll help support. Get MyPillow.com just first, because you never know. I mean, the deals you can get are pretty incredible, and you help support the cause at the same time. Healthwithjustin.com. Maha Missy and the team. Maha Missy back with us on Wednesday again this week for a latest update and appointment. If you haven't seen the latest episode, drops every week with updates like what's going on with this parasite. We got Fauci on Capitol Hill in the hearings this week. I'm sure that'll be top of our conversations as well, and we'll get into all of it coming out when we talk with her. In the meantime, reach out, see how you can drop over 40 pounds like me, my wife, Mike, and his wife, and so many others that listen to this program. Fantastic results with the folks there. In the meantime, let's get into our big three. Talk about why the president's here, the latest in Iran and the pause of the airstrikes, and a horrific story out of West Michigan that's taken over the headlines here about this family found dead. It's absolutely horrific. We're trying to get some more info out of it. We'll tell you about that coming up here in just a moment. Some of the latest from the week. At first, our big three, powered by Dave Galloway and the team at Heartland Home Mortgage. Whether you want to buy, refi, home equity line of credit, you want to know where things are going. Dave talked about that recently. The latest conversation we had about the Fed and the chair, Kevin Warsh, taking over with the latest transformation going on inside the Fed. It's going to directly impact you and everyone else, our pockets, and how much money you have left. I'll direct you to watch that podcast or go check out the latest interview. Heartland Home Mortgage, reach out today at hhmlending.com. A lot of folks interested in HELOCs right now. Home credit could help pay off some credit card debt, and if you've racked up a little bit, obviously times are, they're a little wacky. And you want to make sure you're not paying an arm and a leg in that interest. Now's the time. Dave and the team want to make sure that you're well taken care of or anything. They got a heart of a teacher, and they'll walk you right through the process at hhmlending.com. Reach out to Dave and those folks today. All right, folks, so here we have it, the big three, the stories that matter most, the ones you'll be talking about around the water cooler, the dinner table, no matter where you are. Powered by our good friends at Heartland Home Mortgage. Trump surging to Michigan today. People asking the question, what's he doing? Why is he coming here? Well, originally, I think the schedule included the visit of the Gordie Howe Bridge and the opening there, but the back and forth with Canada. It's been a really contentious situation. He renegotiated a deal. He's got a statement on this. I'll read to you in a second. And now America getting more from that bridge opening than ever before, but also tariffs over the wildfire smoke and some of the other unfair trade practices that Canada has going on with us. So they won't take American dairy, and it's really kind of wild when you see how this whole thing plays out, and he's trying to right turn.
And it comes as early in-person voting is underway in the battleground states primary, with key governor and Senate races on that ballot.
Alex Hogan's live at the White House with the details. Hey, Alex.
Good morning, Steve, Brian, and Ainsley. So as you mentioned, President Trump will leave the White House today. He will head to Michigan, and that is where early voting is already underway. Tonight, there will be a debate between some of the Democratic candidates for Senate, including these two you see on screen, Dr. Abdul El-Sayed and Representative Haley Stevens. With less than 100 days until the midterm, there's a lot of questions over the future of the Democratic Party and some new controversy within. A new report detailing how Chair Ken Martin reportedly threw his phone at the desk of a junior aide while berating them. The New York Times writes.
This story, by the way, super weird. It's very well. I will tell you, I've got lots of people talking about how the Democrat Party itself is in disarray. And by the way, the New York Times wrote a story talking about how much money they have. Very little. They're in debt. They're broke, and they're asking vendors now to wait until after the midterms to get paid. This is not good news for folks inside the Democrat Party, especially those candidates looking to make a splash. We'll talk more about that, and particularly that Senate race and the fact those two are going to be on stage tonight. President Trump pausing U.S. strikes on Iran after nearly 2 weeks of attacks. Diplomacy continuing. Oman, Qatar, they're all in the conversation. There are no bombings since Friday. An oil tanker, though, did explode, hit a mine in the Strait of Hormuz. In fact, we got photos of that. We'll try and pull up here in a little bit. And this horrific story out of West Michigan, right in our own backyard here. Husband, wife, 6 beautiful children found dead in a suspicious Michigan fire. According to the folks there in Grand Haven Township, some even had gunshot wounds. The police there investigating possible foul play, but no outside suspects have been mentioned yet. I don't know if you're following this story, but it is horrific. Imagine thinking about it. And a teacher, and I want to say she was 39 and he was 47. And a story that is just, I think, grabbing a lot of us by the heartstrings this morning as we're watching all of that. So welcome in. Appreciate you being here with us. We dive into these stories and more this morning. Cheryl's asking a great question at the top of the show. So I'm going to answer this, and I'm going to say good morning to a few folks who are watching over on Locals and Rumble and everyone. Cheryl said, why aren't you on the radio? Well, I was this morning at 7:30. But I want to dive into that question here in just a moment. So, Cheryl, great question. We'll get into that here in just a bit. But Panda over on Locals today, the VIPs hanging out, the behind-the-scenes live stream. Happy Journey. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us this morning. Happy Journey. Patriot Dean, a lifetime member of the VIP. J.M. Timmer, good to see you as well. Nana and R. Reagan, Adeline, M. Lecky. Is Gritter in here today? Did anybody see Gritter yet? Mando, good to see. BKVE, good to see you as well. And over on the Rumble this morning, Rumble. I see Gary. I see Waldron, L. Waldron. D1P Beasley, Nancy, thank you so much. Kelly, Julie Ann, thank you all for being here. S. Rune, Steve Legacy, thank you all for taking the time to be here with us. And Sean and Melissa. And I see John over on the tube. Thank you, guys. Always a pleasure. Okay, so let's tackle, and I'll answer as many questions as I can. By the way, over the weekend, I did a little bit of an Ask Me Anything sort of impromptu chat with folks over on Locals for the VIPs. I answered some questions. Some things I haven't talked about yet. Some things I'll be talking about more in the near future. So let me give this. About a month ago, nearly a month ago now, Cheryl, the radio show went away. And while that was not my choice, some really just interesting things have come along and transpired since then. We had been working for, I would say, nearly 9 months to a year in the background on a project that is set to launch very soon. In fact, here is the paperwork. All the I's have been dotted and the T's have been crossed on this paperwork. Something very new and very big starts within the next month. Now, while I can't say anything more about that right now because it's not my announcement to make, I'm assuming in the things that I understand and hear that you could start hearing announcements very soon, within probably the next week. I mean, any minute now. So we I can't say what that is, but I can tell you it's going to be bigger than I think we've ever, bigger than anything else we've ever done before. So I'm very excited about that. I know that's vague and I apologize, but I can't, there's only so much I can say right now. So that was in the works for like the last year or so. So when this happened, unfortunately, I'm not excited about losing the hour, but at the same time, understanding, God takes things. He opens doors, closes doors, and certainly, we trust in those things. Now, in the meantime, we've been working with the folks at Wood Radio, and every Monday at 7:30, I'm doing an update with Steve Kelly. We just did one this morning, and those will continue. We've had great relationship with folks there. So that, again, not my choice to leave, but also I don't think locally the choice of the folks there either. It's just some things, unfortunately, the doors open. One door opens, another door closes. As I mentioned, these are things that are not in my control. But I've learned to trust God through the years, and that's what we're watching play out. Some really big things. All right, so I don't want to just too much about me, but at the top. Because on Mondays we do, and Cheryl, great question. We certainly do tend to have more questions about that. I saw another question about what time does the show start? What time does your show? Well, show starts same time as it always does. Sometimes it takes a minute for the feed to get going, but right around like 9:05 every morning. Melissa, I think was the question. So, will I bring back more on Friday on your new show? Oh yeah, Terry, that's a really good question. I almost forgot about that. That's a really good question. We haven't done that in a long time. Sure, I'm sorry to hear you're not on 1300 anymore, but excited to hear about your new project. Glad to hear you're trusting God. Amen. Yeah, that's just been, I've learned that through the years, and I'm telling you, it's the best way to approach everything. All of the big headlines in the news, but all the things that are happening in your life as well. And thank God we've learned that lesson along the way. Speaking of crazy stories, I don't know if you heard this. Here in America, the Muslim leftist sort of, it's called the Red Green Alliance. They're getting together. In fact, you're seeing this with Abdul Rahman Mohammed Al Sayed, I believe is how you pronounce his name. You're seeing this happen with him on the left right now. You're seeing it with Kami Mamdani in New York City. Al Sayed running for Senate here in Michigan. But it's weird because these alliances, while they're happening here, are kind of rare in other places. Well, let's just take an example. Over the weekend, it's not as a relationship as rosy as you might think it is here in Berlin. Now, a 20-year-old. In fact, I just saw something this morning where they had one of these people like speaking at one of the and this is that suicidal empathy you've heard Gad Sad talk about before. But I saw this person say, one of the people speaking at the event saying, I wish this person, I was hoping it was going to be a white person, particularly probably like a white male who did this. But that was not the scenario, by the way. In fact, we now know the 21-year-old was a Muslim. Authorities say the 21-year-old suspect fatally shot after allegedly charging at officers with a knife a day after an attack left one dead and 29 injured. I think that was a van. attack that killed the others. This is, folks. This is the truth. I know. I understand this is going to be hard for leftists to wrap their heads around this, but this is the nature of these relationships. Berlin Muslim terrorist shot and killed by special forces. Killer just finished de-radicalization program. Well, that one didn't work. That didn't quite get pulled off. This is the same thing. Whenever you see like Queers for Palestine, or whenever you see like these forces aligning, the Red Green Alliance, that is the suicidal empathy that we hear often talked about. That's exactly what you're watching. If these people went to Palestine, they would not be tolerated. They certainly wouldn't be celebrated, but they would not be tolerated. The Lebanese German ISIS terrorist, as the Daily Mail puts it, who plowed into Pride Parade, killing 1 and injuring 29, has been shot dead. Abdul Balut rammed a van into a crowd at Berlin's annual Christopher Street Day Pride Parade on Saturday. German media reporting the 21-year-old had been shot and killed during a police operation at a garden complex in West Berlin. Police said it was believed he had rushed toward our emergency forces with a stabbing weapon. Here's another one. This is another situation. Spokesman added that despite immediate resuscitation measures, the suspect died at the scene. Force said it currently not looking for others in connection. And then the guy just went through some sort of deprogramming or something, and that didn't quite work. That didn't quite work out. It is a shame that we even have to have these conversations. Evil is constantly working in the background, and we got to stay vigilant about that. We are constantly told that we shouldn't. And that, look, if you have any concerns about any of these things, you are, the whole idea that you're racist, sexist, homophobic, any ist in the book that they want to throw at you about being upset at these types of things. So people are dying, and we can't be upset by that. The fact that like I just said, there's somebody. I think I just saw it on X. Somebody on X said, well, we were hoping it would be a white, male who did this, so it fits the narrative. I bet apparently that's the idea they were hoping for. Meanwhile, Kami Mamdani back in the United States. I think good to see this, actually, because this is going to be a tough 25th anniversary. And the ceremony taking place at Ground Zero September 11th. Families of the 9/11 victims asking Mamdani to stay away. Well, there's a couple of reasons for this. And quite frankly, I don't blame him. He hasn't really been involved much in some of these other things that have been going on recently. He's avoided, like the plague, the Puerto Rican and a few other parades and festivals.
Families of 9/11 victims are trying to keep Mayor Zohran Mamdani away from this year's 25th anniversary ceremony at Ground Zero. The families are calling out this mayor over his controversial record and his ties to Islamic extremists, like the imam who testified on behalf of the World Trade Center bombers. He even defended a terrorist in a 2015 post, suggesting FBI surveillance is what pushed him towards al-Qaeda. It's part of a longer history of Mamdani downplaying 9/11 and making it about himself.
I want to use this moment to speak to the Muslims of New York City. I want to speak to the memory of my aunt, who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab. Growing up in the shadow of 9/11, I have known what it means to live with an undercurrent of suspicion. I will always.
By the way, do you get that? The aunt stopped taking the subway, and somehow we're supposed to feel guilty about that. And now this is the victim shaming on another level. Our country was attacked, thousands dead. And by the way, you talk about suicidal empathy. You know, this is the 25th anniversary, and New York City has elected Kami Mamdani to be the mayor of the. So this is, again, any other place you would call this victim shaming, and yet he just gets away.
Remember the disdain I faced, the way my name could immediately become Muhammad.
Tommy, your take?
The way that he makes that about himself, as you read, is really quite something.
It really is. Everything is all about him, and it's hopefully he won't show. But I'm not so convinced of that. They've disinvited him, kind of like Canada disinvited the president earlier today for taking part of the. In fact, I've got some really interesting video we're going to get to at the Gordie Howe Bridge a little bit later on today. Coming up in just a second, we're going to talk with our good friend. He is running for the Attorney General as a Republican here in Michigan. Doug Lloyd joins us. We just had Macomb County Clerk Anthony Forlini on last week. He's running as well to be the Secretary of State. Now, they don't have primaries, right? They are the nominees because of the way that Republicans do the convention. But they will be today, from all I understand, with the president in Milford. So we'll talk to them and how this race is shaping up. Coming up in just moments this morning. Love to hear from you too. Drop your comments, questions, concerns, if any, over in the chat. And we'll get to those coming up in just a moment. But first, the headlines from around the state and beyond from the Midwesterner. The Midwesterner.news.
Here are your headlines from the Midwesterner this Monday, July 27th. I'm Robin Hoffman. Michigan Congresswoman Hillary Scholten won't say whether she'll be backing U.S. Senate candidate Abdul El-Sayed if he wins the Democrat primary. During a recent interview, CNN's Jake Tapper questioning her about the race to replace Senator Gary Peters.
Will you not support him? You know, Jake, I think that it's really important to make a clear distance from yourself and these comments, and that's exactly what I've been doing, in this race. I will not even come close to being associated with comments like America deserved September 11.
In other news, Zeeland Charter Township residents don't want a solar plant built in the area. It's an agricultural community focused on raising corn, soybeans, wheat, and beef cattle. The farming community facing a proposed $330 million solar plant that many residents tell the Midwesterner they don't need and they don't want. For these stories and more, visit the Midwesterner at themidwesterner.news.
Well, we welcome him right now. Doug Lloyd has become a really good friend as we have seen this campaign progress throughout the last year or so, I guess, now. And, Doug, we've gotten a good chance to know you and the family. And, boy, we are just thrilled to have you as our Attorney General candidate nominee here coming up in November, mostly because we are thrilled about the perspective of return of law and order here in Michigan. And look, I just call it like it is, truth, logic, and common sense. There are some things that are on the line right now as we walk through this here in Michigan that we've witnessed over the insanity of nearly the last decade now. And we're just ready to see that ship righted, and we know you've got an opportunity to do that. Thank you, sir, for joining us. We appreciate you.
Good morning, Justin. Great to be with you. You're absolutely right. July 22nd was 1 year since we started the campaign. So it's been a blast so far.
I know you've had a really good chance to get to know folks throughout the state, shaking hands, meeting people, having these conversations. I mean, as a county prosecutor, I'm sure relationships are important, but you're all across the state talking to people, hearing about things that, you get a chance to hear a wide array of people. But I'm sure also conversations come down to a very narrow, common, over and over again things that you're hearing. What is the heartbeat of the rhythm of that?
It really is. That has probably for me been the greatest thing, is just getting out and meeting the people, hearing their concerns. I think what concerns people most is the lawfare. They want to see the Attorney General's office actually represent all 10 million people. They're tired of feeling partisan politics comes into play all the time. They just want to see the attorney be there for them. so that they can actually feel like the Attorney General's office is protecting Michigan instead of worrying about all these national ideas that are just partisan politics.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is you see this over and over again. There's so much. It's like anything the president does, the attorney general, without even checking with the people of Michigan, just has been jumping on. And I just wonder, how productive that is. But the other thing is, how much money are we wasting when it comes to taxpayer dollars on these issues that seem so obvious?
Well, and that's a really good question because it's state government. So that means the Attorney General's office has a budget, and there's only so much money in the state government to go around. And we've seen in this last year that the legislature wants to bring back the budget and to cut departments.
Yeah.
So for me as the Attorney General, I want to focus on what's important for Michigan. If we're putting lawsuits out there just to say that we sued the federal government again, but we can't actually show that we're doing anything that's protecting our citizens, then we shouldn't be doing it. We have enough bad actors here in the state to go after. We can leave, Senator Rogers and our congressmen and women to handle the federal side.
Yeah. Doug Lloyd is with us right now, running for Attorney General here in Michigan, and we want to talk about that. And in fact, what that looks like. What the race has been like, and obviously, as you mentioned, why are we filing all these lawsuits when we've got, real things to worry about here in Michigan, particularly crime. We see, and the question that I'll just ask you about this right now. Actually, I talked with Anthony Ferlini, Macomb County Clerk, running for Secretary of State, and I said, he's one of the guys that really shone a spotlight on some of the issues with non-citizens on the voter rolls. And the president talked about this about a week or so back, and in a national address, he talked about what was happening right here in Michigan, in Muskegon County, and the red flags that were brought up by this GBI Strategies. Now, I said, as your job as a Secretary of State, and he's talking about non-citizens in Macomb County that they discovered via these people coming in and saying, hey, you got me called in for jury duty. And look, I don't really want to do this, but also I'm not a U.S. citizen, so I should probably. So that's how they discovered this. And my next question was, and I said, you're going to talk about this, and I know it's very serious, but there is a law enforcement piece of this. That's why it's important to have both the Secretary of State and the Attorney General, along with the governor, to work together to make sure these things are taken care of. Because as a Secretary of State, you can only do so much. You have to have an Attorney General who's serious about making sure that people are breaking the law, particularly when it comes to these elections. They're holding them accountable.
Oh, I agree.
So that's my question for you. How does that work? And how you.
Sure, and that's yes. Sorry about that, Justin. You broke up on me a little bit, but I think I get to know where you're going. Is that Tony Ferlini? He's got the experience as the Macomb County Clerk, and he understands what's supposed to be happening, and that's what we've told people for the whole time that we've been in. That Tony's got to bring that transparency to light. And when he actually finds fraud, well, that's got to go to the Attorney General's office. And the Attorney General just can't sit on it. That's the funny thing if you think about it. Benson actually sent things to the Attorney General's office as far as election fraud, but we haven't seen anything occur. And that's, I think, what the frustration is for the people, is they want to see something actually happen. We can't just sit on things all the time. You don't see that happen at the local level for a prosecutor. It shouldn't happen at the state. I don't know why it does, but that's one of the first things that's got to change in the Attorney General's office.
Doug, I think we dropped out for a second there. We had a brief interruption. But what I think I heard you say is that you're taking this very seriously, and the former Attorney General didn't. Now, your opponent is, and this, you can imagine this, is even worse. than the former attorney general, because your opponent is one of these sort of defund the police and anti-law and order candidates.
Well, that's true. The legislature is there for a reason to actually create laws. Your local prosecutor, it's their job, just as well as the attorney general, to actually enforce the law. My opponent decided immediately that they weren't going to go after things like prostitution, certain drug crimes, even certain gun crimes. They just felt that wasn't important, and they weren't going to hold people accountable for that. And I think that's the thing, Justin, when you ask me what are people saying across the state, they want to see people held accountable. If somebody's doing something wrong, it means that we actually have to stand up and say, that's not okay. And the things that my opponent says are okay, well, you know what? Those lead to higher crimes. Those lead to making our communities less safe. And we got to make sure that we're actually doing something where people understand that when you come to Michigan, we're going to be there for the people. We're going to be there for the good businesses. We need everyone to succeed in order for Michigan to get better. And just allowing people to get off and not have any accountability, well, we can all agree that's not a way to make your community better or safer.
Yeah. Doug Lloyd right now running for attorney general here in Michigan as a Republican, law and order. And I see Heather say this in the chat, and it's a great point. She says, Michigan ranks 11th in the nation for violent crime. Public safety is on the ballot this year. And I know she's one of the folks who has to deal with this and has seen it up close and personal as well. But we've let things get out of hand here, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately we have. The attorney general should be supporting your local prosecutors. That's the way that we can make things better. We're not seeing that right now. We're too focused on those national ideas of let's go after the federal government. Well, you know what? How about we get back to actually making sure that we're supporting our local prosecutors, that we're supporting law enforcement, and we're actually making sure our communities are safe.
Yeah. Doug Lloyd is a prosecutor right now in Eaton County, and he wants to become the next attorney general of the state of Michigan. And again, glad to have you in the fight. Now, I know people want to come out today. You're going to be with the president there in Milford, but they're going to want to come out and see you. They're going to want to come out and ask questions as you ramp up, get a little bit closer to. We're 99 days away right now until the midterms, until Election Day in November. It's hard to imagine, but as you mentioned, you've been in this race for a year now. And things are really starting to ramp up. What's the best way for them to maybe connect with you as you crisscross the state? Maybe they want to volunteer because, look, folks, we need boots on the ground. We need people to get out there and support. Or maybe they want to help with a donation or whatnot to the cause as well.
Yeah, Justin, thank you. If you go to votedougloyd.com, then that will give you a lot of information. You can sign up for our email there. Our emails always tell us, tell the people where we're going to be. Also follow us on social media, Doug Lloyd Prosecutor on Facebook. That gives you a lot of ideas of where we're going to be, as well as our policies and what we're thinking on a daily basis.
Always a pleasure. I can't wait to connect with you again when you're on this side of the state. And I've enjoyed our conversations. But again, I know I'm not the only one excited about the prospect of, again, restoring law and order here in Michigan and seeing the state put back on track. I've said it over and over. I know 2024 was a massive year for elections in this nation to determine where we go. But I think in Michigan, 2026 is even bigger because we're at a crossroads right now.
You're absolutely right, Justin. We're going to have to decide, which way do we want Michigan to go? And that's going to come down to the people. They're going to have to get out and vote, and they're going to have to make sure that their votes are heard. Are we going to get back to actually common sense and protecting our communities? Or are we going to go in that opposite direction?
Yeah. Doug Lloyd, again, running for attorney general here in Michigan. VoteDougLloyd.com. Thank you, sir. Enjoy your time with the president today and tell him we're pulling for him.
I will do so. Have a great day, Justin.
Thank you, sir. You too. There you have it. More obviously on the way, folks, as we'll continue to have conversations. Now, we have had in the last 2 weeks, we've had the attorney general candidate, Doug Lloyd, on. We had Secretary of State candidate Anthony Ferlini. John James has been on. the president's endorsed pick for the governor. Then Perry Johnson, I believe this week, will wrap things up. Also mentioned Mike Rogers as well. In fact, I had Mike on when I filled in for Glenn on the Glenn Beck program. I think that was July 3rd, so we're probably due to have him back on in the next few weeks or so. So we'll reach out to him again. But there's lots of folks. There's lots of folks that are in these other races that they're all up and down. As you go to the polls here in a little more than a week, we've got. In fact, we got some issues on the ballot that you're going to want to look at. Right, there's a few places where they have those that you're going to have to take a close look at. I can't drill down to all of them, but I will warn you. Make sure you take a look at your ballot before you go. And then you've got obviously some of the other Senate and races for the House as well. So those are big, and I know there's a couple that we've had that are full, and we've tried to have everybody on from these. I think we've done pretty good with them. There may be one or two that we haven't had a chance, particularly locally around me, that we haven't had a chance to get to just yet. But they've, people have reached out. We've tried to get everybody on, and we'll continue to try and do that. And as these stories continue to make the rounds, we'll continue to get these folks on and have them so you can hear from them. I think it's important. Look, we got a real chance. We got a real chance in November to take the state back, but we've got to make sure that we're pedal to the metal, all hands on deck fighting this fight. Folks like Doug Lloyd, Anthony Ferlini, and whoever our candidate for governor ends up being, folks, we got to rally behind. We got to take this country back and the state back. That's where it starts. And even in Lansing, right? A lot of times politics a lot closer to home, in your backyard, things that matter more than anywhere else. Okay, I've got absolutely my pleasure. I said, thank you always for providing a platform for our candidates. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Yeah, they're doing a rally today. I mentioned we're going to have Perry on probably later in the week here, but they're doing a rally today, a Trump rally. I mentioned this. So John James has the endorsement, but Perry's kind of a Trump guy too, and lots of folks that voted for Trump, rally around Perry today. So they're going to do a bit of a rally. I don't know exactly what that looks like. I've seen some of the posts, and I just saw. I think it was Jessica said, "Look, I'm on my way there right now." So that should be interesting to see how that turns out. I'm sure we'll be hearing from Perry a little bit later on this week. I'll let you know what day so I can get that locked in. Okay. In the meantime, back real quick, Tim, we grab a couple of videos. I got a post, a few of these clips that I shared over the weekend. Plus, we got President Trump at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. They finally got that thing pulled off. Thank God, without a hitch. Although he took some swipes here and there that were pretty good. We'll get to that coming up here in a bit as well. But first, another update around the state and beyond from the Midwest.
Here are your headlines from the Midwesterner this Monday, July 27th. I'm Robin Kaufman. It's a Midwesterner.news original story. We are 99 days out from the midterm elections, and President Trump is scheduled to visit Oakland County International in Michigan today. He is expected to talk about the state of the U.S. economy during a speech at a GM facility in Milford. Michigan Congresswoman Hillary Scholten won't say whether she'll be backing U.S. Senate candidate Abdul El-Sayed if he wins the Democrat primary here. During a recent interview, CNN's Jake Tapper questioning her about the race to replace Senator Gary Peters.
Will you not support him?
Jake, I think that it's really important to make a clear distance from yourself and these comments, and that's exactly what I've been doing, in this race. I will not even come close to being associated with comments like America deserved September 11.
For these stories and more, visit the Midwesterner at themidwesterner.news.
Yeah, there you have it. The latest, and that Scholten clip, that's really interesting, from CNN over the weekend. She's in a tough race right now. I don't know if you're aware. That's Michigan's 3rd congressional district. By the way, that's my district, and she is up against a good friend of mine, Terry DeBoer, who is, I think, going to be a really formidable opponent. Now, part of this, Skolton's in a tough race, so maybe she's got to come out. Because West Michigan is conservative. However, there seems to be a little bit of a break there between some of these.
Will you not support him?
You know,
Hang on, let me get into that and why I think you're seeing this coming up, because Whitmer endorsed Abdul's opponent this week.
Jake, I think that it's really important to make a clear distance from yourself and these comments, and that's exactly what I've been doing, in this race. I will not even come close to being associated with comments like America deserved September 11.
Will you not support him?
Jake,
That is interesting. This is going to be an interesting race. Booyah says, I like the Cushman guy tour. So Terry does have an opponent. I've not heard from him. I don't know if he thought, I can't reach out to him. I haven't heard from him, but I don't know him. I think Terry probably wins that race because of the name recognition. And I think that's why she's probably going to have a really good chance against Skolton. Skolton is the candidate that, again, she went on CNN and says this, but at the same time, what does she do in real life? What does the voting record look like? Yeah, that's a great question. And Katie says, Skolton has to appear moderate for the election. It's all an act like last time. Yes. Heather says Skolton has a far left voting record. She did those commercials. Remember when she first came out? Skolton came out. She's on her front porch. She's reading her Bible. Oh, no, she wasn't reading it. It was by her, though. It's like sitting right by her. She's just sitting there like, oh, here in West Michigan. And she told him, she goes, Republicans, you need to do better. And Democrats, you need to stop spending so much money, too. Remember that? Remember that? The Hillary Skolton, the original message that she put out there. That was her first, and boy, she had everybody fooled. First vote was not even about abortion, but it was like, if the baby survives the abortion, should a doctor have to give that baby aid? And she voted against that. That's incredible. We've seen time after time as an immigration attorney, good point, Heather, has voted in more and more extreme ways. And Democrats got a little bit of a problem right now. There's a civil war happening inside. Of course, we just told you this, but Governor Whitmer endorses Haley Stevens. Over the weekend, Haley Stevens doubling down on her weird accent. I don't know if you saw this, but she was at an event, and yes, Whitmer was there. They wanted Whitmer to run for this should tell you everything you need to know. They wanted Whitmer to run for this seat. Why did she say no? Maybe there's something there that you're not hearing. Here's Stevens at the event next to Jim Clyburn from South Carolina, the Democrat kingmaker there, senator, rep, and then you've got Whitmer standing off to her right. You're not gonna be able to see her, but you'll hear her as Stevens doubles down into this weird accent.
Okay, some of you have seen,
Okay, all right now. This is not real. I'll prove it to you here in a minute. This walking SNL skit running for now. She's got to make some sort of a splash, because Abdul's pretty flashy on the other side of things. So she's got people have to know who she is, and maybe this is one of the ways of doing it.
There's those cool kids on the internet. They're doing the cool kid chatter. Some of them might be the coastal elites, making fun of how I talk. Not okay.
Then you hear Whitmer. Not okay.
Says my governor.
Not okay. Now they're both putting it on.
But let's be real.
Clyburn knows about this. Same thing, like when Hillary Clinton or Kamala Harris comes to South Carolina or Atlanta or wherever, and they put on the Southern, the black accent, the Southern black scent. He knows what it's like. People pander to them all the time. So this is a form of sort of a Midwest pandering, maybe. It's just really strange. It's over the top.
Making fun of Michigan. They're thinking they're better than us. And what they don't know is I am your voice. And their jokes and their criticism only makes me fight harder.
I don't know who wrote that for her, but look at her smile. She goes, "Oh, I nailed it. I nailed it, everybody. Oh, yeah." The motivational speaker. Oh, man. I can't, I said this a couple of weeks back, and then everybody started running with it and flew with it. And I'm glad because it's so true. She is a walking SNL skit. She is Matt Foley. Yeah, like there is no other way to describe this weird thing she's doing and putting on. It's nutty. Now you want me to prove this isn't real? Now you may have seen this, but here she is a few years back doing her corporate accent versus today what she sounds like when TMZ stopped her.
Oversight, intelligence, judiciary are going to be taking up those matters through hearings and different investigations. She almost has that vocal fry that you hear from the Kardashians. It just kind of listen. Matters through hearings and different investigations, and those committees are going to do their work, and I am laser focused on my committees of jurisdiction. I worked really hard to get on those committees for Michigan and for my constituents.
That sounds more like her. By the way, here she is, a few pounds heavier. I can say that. Look at me. And maybe it was the accent. Maybe it's the weight I don't know. There's something that's a little different about. Maybe they're not the same person. I don't know. Go deep down into the rabbit hole with me. But this is strange.
You know who I sound like? I sound like the people who I talk to in Michigan.
No, you don't sound like. You don't sound like the person you were just a few years back. You don't sound like you just a few years back. What happened?
We're getting screwed right now by Donald Trump. Okay, and I'm telling you, I'm at the fish fry in Detroit. It's a joyous day, and the gals, 2 minutes into the conversation, what are we going to do about our utility bill? Yeah. And so I sound like the people who I'm trying to fight for, and I can't campaign right now because
She's not going to say it, but the people you have to blame for your utility bill, Miss Stevens, are the Democrats. One who was standing right next to you. Just this weekend, Governor Gretchen Whitmer. That's who you have to blame for the utility bills here in Michigan.
I'm in a government building, but I am fighting for Michigan.
I am fighting for Michigan. Uh-huh. It's all an act. Chris Farley's twin sister. Oh. It is all an act. Every single bit of it. Phony has a $3 bill and full of it, Terry says. So there you have it. These are your choices on the left. Do you want to vote for her, or do you want to vote for the guy who, essentially thinks, 9/11 was not a. I mean, these are your questions, and this is your options here in Michigan. So I want you to know too, because there's some people out there that, on the right that aren't necessarily thrilled with Mike Rogers. This is your alternative. And don't tell me it's not true. Don't tell me it's not real, because you have a blatant and obvious example of this right now when you look at who is serving Alyssa Slotkin as a senator from Michigan. She never should have been there. And yet here she is today. It's obvious, folks. I mean, if you want one of these people, and probably, I think it's probably going to be Abdul El Sayed, Abdul Rahman Mohammed El Sayed, but probably going to be him. I think he's got the momentum. I really do. I've been seeing stuff on the internet lately too. Now the left is coming after each other, and they're in full attack mode on one another. So now they're saying, Stevens takes the AIPAC money, and there's these influencers that are out of state that are doing campaigns for her. By the way, that's not her. She's not paying for that. I'm not defending her, but she's not paying for that. There are PACs that go and do these things. So, I don't know what to tell you, but I can tell you this, and this is a fact. You're just talking data at this point. We're just talking math now. But the DNC is broke. The New York Times reports this. The DNC is broke. And the DNC, now listen, I see a lot of people in the comments going, wait a minute, I pray not. No, I'm not saying that Abdul El Sayed's going to be the next senator, but he could. He could be. I'm not telling you that that's what I believe. What I do believe is he'll be the nominee. I think he'll be the nominee for the Democrat Party. I think he'll win the primary. I think he's got all of the things that we're watching, all of the, all of the latest move when it comes to jazzing up the base and firing up. I think that's what right now. I think it favors him. That's what I think. I think it favors him. Now, the New York Times reporting this. Inside the phone-throwing drama at the troubled, broke Democrat Party. This is part of that story that I played earlier. And by the way, like I said, I think it will be Abdul El Sayed, and I think that's why it's more important than ever to get behind Rogers and make sure that he doesn't make it to the Senate. He makes it to the Senate, he'll try to run for president. Trust me, it's the Obama playbook all over again. They're pushing that with Mamdani as well. Mamdani's going to be in 2028. They will run one of these socialists, and they might run a few. AOC might be in there. Mamdani might try to pop his head up through there. He might try. They may all try and take a crack at it. But if Abdul gets in 26, trust me. But that's all. You say that's too soon. No, that's all Obama served. Wasn't it just a couple of years? Anyway, inside the Democrat Party, we're just looking at math now. We're just talking about numbers, folks. That's all this is, just numbers. They're broke. They're in debt. They're in debt big time. They owe a couple $1 million. And they're in debt, and there's no coming. I don't know. There's no coming back from this. They're telling their vendors right now, "Oh, hang on. We'll take care of you. We'll make you whole after the midterms. We'll catch you. We'll circle back around on this one." And this is a big and good news too. But this is a big contrast from Republicans who hold over $100 million right now. But this is a big story, and it's one you're probably not hearing about on the nightly news either. Despite the favorable, the New York Times writes, midterm conditions for Democrats, Trump's low approval, high gas prices, unpopular Iran war, the DNC, under the chairman, Ken Martin, faces severe financial internal problems. The DNC, Democrat Party, roughly in $2 million of debt after a $15 million loan the prior year, while the Republican National Committee, the RNC, holds nearly $130 million in cash. And Trump controls a $400 million super PAC. Now, lots of money outside the Democrat Party as well. Billionaires like Soros and some of the others, the Neville Singham and some of those folks are pushing and, of course, going to be spending money as well. So that's part of the equation. But party leaders have asked some vendors to delay sending bills until after the midterms. Sources describe this as an effort to mask the shortfalls. DNC Executive Director Roger Lau called it standard contract talks. The DNC indicated it will not make its usual large transfers to the House and Senate campaign committee in 2026. And yeah, there's a whole story about him like throwing a phone at a staff member, et cetera. And I think that's kind of like, that's part of the palace intrigue, it's part of the gossip, and yes, that's all out there. But the money, that's the bigger story. That is the bigger story. So you have Dems in disarray. There is a civil war going on sort of on the inside. They do a lot of their knifing in quiet. But you better believe when they get to the general election, they are gonna come together like you wouldn't believe. And Republicans better do that. Or folks, I'm telling you, Michigan, I don't know where it goes. We've got to make sure that we come together. It is more important than ever before to make that happen. Hey, I do have some good news. I'm talking about the Find Out era. Hawaii Lieutenant Governor indicted for bribery with $35,000, by the way, a Democrat. $35,000 in a paper bag. Aloha. Luke indicted for bribery. By the way, the Lieutenant Governor, Sylvia Luke, and 4 others charged in Attorney General corruption investigation in Hawaii. What else we got? She overstayed her visa by 15 years. Then ICE then complains when ICE finally catches up to her. Oh boy! Speaking of ICE, I got some more headlines we're going to share on that coming up here. This is a woman that was detained, a woman from Ukraine detained at the San Francisco International Airport, according to the report here. On the run, overstayed her visa, finally caught up with ICE, and now this has become like a big story.
A video of federal immigration officers detaining a woman at SFO, spreading online.
Listen, she's like making a big deal. Oh, you're choking me, ma'am. If you're being choked, you can't yell like that. I would not think.
Richmond Council member Doria Robinson recorded this video. Just several plainclothes men holding down the woman as she calls for help and says she is Ukrainian. Robinson posted that video on Wednesday.
Plainclothes men, CBS reported. They were federal agents. K-Picks out of the Bay Area. These are federal agents, plainclothes men. I guess you could describe them as that way, but these are federal agents, and she is a criminal on the lam.
She said the woman was handcuffed and taken away in a wheelchair. We've reached out to the Department of Homeland Security to confirm the incident and the identity of the woman. Mission Local reporting her identity as 38-year-old Irina Gorb, and DHS says that she had overstayed her visa and tried to run away from officers. Senator Scott Wiener responded to the video on social media.
Of course, like we care what a wiener is to say, but yes, she overstayed her visa by 15 years. I mean, hello. Like that's not a small number. That's not just some sort of oops.
Made a home in San Francisco, and that ICE is trying to deport her to war-torn Ukraine. That comes as just earlier this week, an immigrant living in Oakland was detained by ICE at Denver International. Friends of Chantel Rojas said that she was flying back to Oakland when she was detained on the jet bridge. They also said Rojas filed to stay in the U.S. permanently, and her case was pending.
Well, this is the Find Out era.
Shooting happened at a party Saturday night at an event.
All right. One more, and this is a good one. This is actually good. This is actually good news. The Haitian migrants. ICE planning to target, and it looks like this week, target 300,000, I think is the full number. 300,000 deportation operation against those 300,000 Haitians begins this week. The temporary protected status set to end. Sources say they will be on the ground in places like Springfield, Ohio. Remember, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. That was part of Springfield.
Immigration crackdown. This week, the administration is removing protections for hundreds of thousands of people who fled here from Haiti. CBS News reported first that ICE is preparing a wave of operations to arrest and deport these formerly protected immigrants. Camilo Montoya Galvez is in Springfield, Ohio, home to thousands of Haitians. Camilo, good morning.
Good morning, Adriana. Sources inside Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, tell me that the agency is planning to ramp up operations to target, identify, arrest, and deport Haitian immigrants as soon as this week. And the plan here in Ohio is to send them directly back to Haiti after arresting them. This as a Supreme Court order takes effect today, paving the way for more than 300,000 Haitian immigrants to lose their temporary protected, or TPS, status. That is a major policy change by the Trump administration. In a statement, the Department of Homeland Security announced the TPS policy as a de facto amnesty program, urging immigrants who are set to lose their legal status to self-deport from the U.S. Back here in Springfield, Ohio, you may recall that back during the 2024 presidential campaign, this city of 58,000 residents was placed in the middle, at the center of a political firestorm.
That song, "They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats," may have been one of my favorite, and it was like a meme. It became like a big, "They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cat." You remember that? It was classic. I don't even know if we still have it somewhere. Maybe we can find it. And it was Trump. It was Trump, right? I remember he was like, talking about this at, I don't know, some speech. This may be it, folks. If this is it, I'm going full blast on it, because this was a jam, man. This was. Hang on.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. Eat the cat, eat the cat. Eat the cat, eat the cat.
Seeing red, so don't push me. Ain't Donald Trump trying to grab him by the.
All right, I don't know how much this might not even be the song that I was thinking of, but. Anyway, that's probably enough, right? That's probably all we needed. That's probably all we needed today. That's enough. We've had enough today, I think, right? That's probably. That'll work for now. They're heading to Springfield. By the way, I'm going to say this. Speaking of viral moments, did you see the president at the Correspondents'? I mean, there were a couple of really there were a couple of really good, solid viral moments over the weekend from the White House Correspondents' dinner. And this is the rescheduled one, right? This is the one they had to do. It's a do-over after that crazy guy came in and shot it up. President Trump dropping this gem of Caitlin Collins. Now, they took Caitlin Collins' picture and they put her on the Dylan Mulvaney photo. And people are talking, now this has got the internet abuzz this morning. This is something that, you're supposed to be appalled by.
I want to personally congratulate CNN's Caitlin Collins on receiving her award. It was all about me. It's a fake. She shouldn't get the award. It was a fake, but I didn't mind. I said, Caitlin, congratulations. But it was fake. There's no question about it. But she's a young, attractive woman. She never smiles. I said, Caitlin, do you ever smile? Smile.
Look at
You
Wolf
have a nice
sitting at the
position.
table.
You're at
Look at Wolf sitting at the table. They don't have like a video of her.
CNN fake news. You should be a happy person. So smile, Caitlin. Just smile. But we attack, and I thought Caitlin had really made it big with a major new sponsorship. But then I informed her that it wasn't her on the Bud Light can. It was Dylan Mulvaney. And Dylan Mulvaney cost Bud Light $35 billion in market cap. That was the worst commercial.
Now you have to remember that this setup here is a roast setup. And by the way, he's great at that. Because otherwise it kind of sounds mean-spirited when you just think, okay, he just said that on his own. But that's not it. There's like a comedian there supposedly usually roasting the president, right? And then he's kind of roasting some of the he's roasting the correspondents, he's roasting the people in the media that are there in attendance and who else. And if you remember back, by the way, folks, this whole dinner is solely responsible in a lot of ways for President Trump being the president today. You don't believe me? Hang on. I'll show you the evidence here in just a moment. But here's part of what he said that really got the crowd rolling.
You people have no idea how lucky you are. When I'm gone, you're all going to be broke. Your business model is going to be finished. No, it's true. When I'm not around, you're going to be broke. There's not going to be anybody to report on. Nobody gives a damn about anybody else. You people have...
It's just so funny because it's true. What are they going to do for ratings? What could they possibly do for ratings? All right, what else do we have? Here he is talking about Adam
Shifty Schiff was not available.
Hang on.
But the association really put on a big show, and they have somebody very special. I look forward to seeing him. And so they thought about going with a professional clown for entertainment. But Adam Shifty Schiff was not available. You know, he's known, I called him, I hate some people, you know, I shouldn't say this, I'm president. I'm not supposed to hate, I'm supposed to love everybody. But he's a terrible person, he's a liar. And I called him Watermelon Head because he has the largest head I've ever seen with the smallest neck, pencil neck. How does that big, fat, ugly head stand on a little pencil neck?
Look at the people in the audience trying not to laugh at these.
But the association...
It's so funny. And that's because, you know, you're like, yeah, that's real. That's true. What he's saying is true. There's no, and by the way, he's not just roasting the media. He kind of roasts his cabinet as well. Nobody was immune there. I think RFK Jr. took
I hope that everyone finally got to enjoy their entire very delicious beef tenderloins, very special beef. And I want you all to know that Bobby Kennedy, who's right here, personally ran over the cow in his car. And he cut it up and he brought it here for you to eat tonight. So it's very fresh.
This is so good.
And Bobby also suggested an appetizer featuring his favorite cut of male raccoon roadkill. But we drew the line at that, Cheryl. We said, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. We love Bobby. I'll tell you, it is a piece of work. You think it is fun, but he is a very different kind of a person, I will tell you. But he has what it takes, and he's smart, and he loves the country, and he wants people to be made to feel good. You agree with that, Bobby? He wants people to feel good. And he's doing a fantastic job. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you. We can joke all we want, but thank you.
Ran over the cow on the way here tonight. That's what you're eating. You know, it's kind of funny. There are probably people thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't eat this. Maybe I shouldn't eat this. But anyway, there were a number of those throughout the night. And the one thing that I need you to realize, and this is more than anything else, is the reason we have and they ought to realize this too. The reason we have President Trump today, or ever had President Trump to begin with, is because in 2011, trust me, I guarantee you, this is one of the driving factors. 2011, then President Obama made this crack.
Donald Trump is here tonight. Now, I know that he's taken some flack lately, but no one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing? What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac? All kidding aside, obviously we all know about your credentials and breadth of experience.
He was fine up until this point. You saw him kind of watching. I think he kind of liked some of this. He doesn't mind the spotlight on him. But what happens next, I think, may have flipped a switch in Trump's mind that there was no unflipping.
For example, no, seriously, just recently, in an episode of Celebrity Apprentice, at the steakhouse, the men's cooking team did not impress the judges from Omaha Steaks. And there was a lot of blame to go around, but you, Mr. Trump, recognized that the real problem was a lack of leadership. And so ultimately you didn't blame Little John or Meatloaf. You fired Gary Busey. And these are the kind of decisions that would keep me up at night.
Still kind of funny, kind of mocking him a little bit, still kind of funny, but there's a moment that comes that is responsible for it. By the way, look how they're applauding in 2011 for Obama. You're like sycophants and cults and things like that. Folks, there's nothing like this. I don't like it.
Well handled, sir. Well handled. Say what you will about Mr. Trump. He certainly would bring some change to the White House. Let's see what we've got up there.
I don't think he even minded. I think he kind of laughed at that, but this is, wait for it. He says at some point during this whole conversation, the thing that I think what was the, it'll go down in history of the whole thing, I think, was he basically said, and that clip doesn't have it. I don't know where. I tried to find it here for you real quick. But he basically says that you'll never be president. That's 2011, folks. And I think that's the clip. By the way, these people are responsible. So whether they like it or not, they're responsible. They sort of brought this on themselves, which I find to be kind of fascinating in itself, isn't it? Isn't that interesting? They brought this on themselves. Anyway, fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. I've got lots of good videos still left yet. And in fact, I don't know, a few of these I'll probably have to save for tomorrow. We'll save for tomorrow. I got lots to cover and still yet on the table. We'll have the latest from what the president had to say coming up a little bit later on today. Man, more news. In fact, some really good things. I will let you know about now. A fireside chat scheduled for tomorrow night. I think 8:30 is what we're going to land on. 8:30 tomorrow night. And love to have you here for it. That just happens outside. Hopefully we'll have the weather for it. If not, I'll be in here. Fireside chat with you. And you can ask me anything. So we've got some new developing details. The paperwork signed on this big, new, exciting project that's still yet to come. And as soon as that announcement gets made, I'll share that with you. Coming up, like I said, it could be any day now, honestly. I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to all of the great things that are ahead, folks, and sharing this time with you. Don't go anywhere. Make sure you and I are still in contact. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you go to justinbarclay.com, put your name, your email in, and that way, as soon as I get the green light, you'll get the news first. That's it. Over at justinbarclay.com/store, we got America 250 gear inside, all kinds of good stuff inside the store today. We appreciate you being here with us and sharing the show, as always. Lots of folks doing that, helping us get the word out. You help us break the algorithm. Congratulations to Free Jacks. Free Jacks over on Rumble for helping share the word and the story today. Free Jacks. Something cool inside the story. You can grab something cool and we'll send it to you. Sharing is caring. Appreciate you. Hang on, VIP's over on Locals. No, I'm not moving. I'm not going anywhere, Terry. You're stuck with me. The VIP behind-the-scenes live stream after the after show. We call it the after party, the remnants. You're up next. Stand by, folks.
Let's say China. 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 China.